Okay, so Parental Guidance, Billy Crystal and Bette Midler are the grandparents called in to look after their control freak daughter's kids for a weekend. They barely see their daughter, who's played by Marisa Tomei, who thinks that they're kind of useless. Billy Crystal is a sports announcer who, gift of the gab, does all that talking stuff. At the very, very beginning of the film, we see him lose his job. But very much like Clint Eastwood in Trouble with the Curve, he dragged his daughter around, games when she was young, and now they've become estranged. So there is a kind of comparison between those two things. She now lives in this very strange automated home, raising kids in a sort of new modern parent way, which appears to have done nothing but cause problems. Here's a clip.
Now, do you have any special instructions for us, like what the kids like to do, what they like to eat?
Yes, Mom, great, thank you. First of all, they don't eat any sugar.
No Carvel? That's the saddest thing I've ever heard in my life.
We tried to introduce just a little bit of sugar, and it was like going off the rails of the crazy train. Oh, my gosh.
And there's another subject I'd like to discuss.
Sure, anything.
Your language.
Oh, he won't curse. I'll break his freaking arm.
That's great, but that's not what I meant. You see, there's a way that we talk to our kids. For instance, where you would say no, we would say, consider the consequences. Or where you would say don't, we would say, maybe you should try this. See, that way the child feels that he has value, he has worth, he's heard.
That's a way.
So rather than saying, don't go and see it, I would say, consider the consequences. Rather than saying, see something else, I would say, well, perhaps you might like to consider something else. It is one of those films in which there's one of the kids has got this imaginary friend who's a kangaroo who was so annoying, I wished he was real so that I could strangle the kangaroo. It's very odd just how uninvolving and funny and charming and festive and all the rest of it the film is. I mean, from the outset the story's going to be that Billy Crystal is going to come along and he's going to overcome all their problems because he's going to he's going to do the straight talking thing, he's going to feed them cake, he's going to make them stand up to the bullies, he's going to all that fun. And there's no bigger Bette Midler fan than me. I mean, I love Bette Midler. I think that For the Boys is one of the most underrated films of the past 50 years. I absolutely love it. But this was a real challenge, and the biggest problem with it was there's a running gag going all the way through it about Marisa Tomei and her husband talking to each other as characters from Spinal Tap. They start doing this weird English accent. He says, all right, Nigel, shall I come to bed now? And she says, yeah, all right. And you go, what? And then you start thinking, hang about a minute. They're making an obscure reference to Spinal Tap because Billy Crystal is in Spinal Tap, right? You remember Billy Crystal in Spinal Tap? He's the guy who says to the guy out of Wayne's World, he says, come on, do the Dying Swan, mime is money. That's Billy Crystal. And then I think, hang about a minute. This film is so boring and uninvolving that I'm actually trying to figure out the connection between Marisa Tomei and a Spinal Tap gag. That means definitively, despite the fact that it's Billy Crystal and Bette Midler, I have totally lost interest in anything happening other than the kangaroo coming to life so that I can do it a mischief.
Do it a mischief?
Yes.
What kind of a phrase is that?
It was a phrase that
got you out of a hole.
That got me out of a hole. Thank you. Can I just say though, not only not the worst film of the year, but not in the top 10. You wait till you hear the toxic top 10.